My friends, gather close. I want to tell you a story. A story not just of steel and gunpowder, but of a forgotten genius, a nation's desperate pride, and a weapon so advanced it was almost lost to history. This is the tale of the Hungarian Kiraly submachine gun. And I promise you, the twists and turns of this saga will shock you. Before we dive in, I need your help. This channel is dedicated to unearthing these lost chapters of history. If you want to join me on this journey to uncover the secrets they don't teach in school, then you must subscribe to the channel and ring that bell. And most importantly, leave a comment below. Tell me what you think, what hidden weapons you want to explore next. Your voice guides our research. Now, let's begin. Close your eyes and picture Europe in the late 1930s. The air is thick, heavy with the scent of impending doom. The drums of war are beating, a grim rhythm that echoes from the halls of Berlin to the streets of London. In the heart of this simmering cauldron lies Hungary, a nation humbled by the First World War, stripped of two-thirds of its land by the Treaty of Trianon, and burning with a desire for restoration, for power, for respect. It is in this pressure cooker of national ambition that our story unfolds. Today, we are talking about a system patented in 1939 by a Hungarian designer named Pál Király. Let me say that again. Kiraly. Not Kiraly, not Király, and certainly not the common mistranslation Pál Király. This is our first clue, our first step in reclaiming a legacy. The weapon itself is sometimes known by the name of its manufacturer, the Danuvia company. Danuvia Kulkareski Elmi, a name that rolls off the Hungarian tongue with a sense of industrial purpose. Founded in 1920, this company was born with one mission: to arm the Hungarian army, to give teeth to a nation that had been declawed. And at the heart of this mission was a man, an engineer, a visionary. Pál Király, the man behind the myth. Pál Király, the wandering genius. His story reads like a spy novel. A brilliant, ambitious young man from Hungary who travels to the neutral, precision-obsessed heartland of European gunsmithing, Switzerland. There, he finds a home at the legendary company SIG. Imagine those clean, orderly workshops a world away from the gathering storm. Here, Király worked alongside another engineering mastermind, Gotthard End. And here, my friends, is where our detective story truly begins. During Király's time in Switzerland, End was developing his masterpiece, the SIG MKMS submachine gun. Its design was nothing short of revolutionary. It used a mechanism known as a delayed blowback or retarded blowback system. Let me break this down in simple terms. In a typical submachine gun, like the famous Soviet PPSH or the German MP40, the bolt is just a heavy piece of metal. When you fire, the exploding gases push the spent cartridge case back, which slams into this bolt and sends it flying backward, compressing a spring, ejecting the old round, and then loading a new one. It's simple, cheap, and effective. But it has drawbacks: violent recoil, muzzle climb, and it can be less accurate in full auto. Now imagine if you could delay that heavy bolt, just for a fraction of a second, just long enough to let the bullet leave the barrel and the tremendous pressure inside the chamber to drop to a safe level. Then you allow the bolt to fly back. This is the principle of the delayed blowback system. It's more complex, but it results in a weapon that is incredibly steady, controllable, and accurate. The million-dollar question that historians and gun experts still debate is this: what was Király's role in this breakthrough? There is a persistent and compelling belief that the young Hungarian in turn was not just a bystander. He may have contributed key insights, perhaps even the crucial idea itself. This isn't an accusation of theft. Far from it. In science and engineering, ideas often emerge from collaboration. Király, it is believed, had every right to this knowledge. He was likely a co-creator, not a copycat. So, armed with this revolutionary knowledge, his mind buzzing with ideas, Pál Király returned to his homeland in the mid-1930s. He did not return empty-handed. He carried a blueprint for the future in his mind. Not a copy, but an evolution, the Hungarian answer. Király did not simply clone the Swiss SIG. He took the core concept of delayed blowback, and he refined it. He made it his own. The result was the Kiraly-type delayed blowback system, a mechanism that would forever cement his name in the annals of firearms design. Let's visualize how this masterpiece of engineering worked. Inside the receiver, the bolt isn't one single piece. It's two. The bolt head. This is the part that actually grabs the cartridge and chambers it. The firing pin strikes here. The bolt body. A massive, cylindrical slug of metal, the main mass of the bolt. These two parts aren't locked together. They're connected by a clever, two-armed lever. And this lever, this is the genius part, is itself braced against the inside of the gun's receiver. The gun fires. A volcano of expanding gases tries to force the spent cartridge case backward. The case pushes against the bolt head, but the bolt head can't move immediately. It's being held in place by that lever. Instead, the force is transferred through the lever to the much heavier bolt body, which begins to move first. This movement lasts only a few milliseconds, but it's enough. The lever pivots, and in doing so, it cams out of its brace position. Now, and only now, is the lock released. The entire assembly, the bolt head and the bolt body, fly backward together, completing the firing cycle. In that microscopic delay, the pressure in the barrel dropped to a safe level. The violent, chaotic energy of the shot was tamed, controlled by pure mechanics. It was brilliant. But again, why? Why go through all this trouble? The answer lies in the heart of the weapon, in the very cartridge it was built to fire. The monster cartridge, 9x25mm Mauser export. While much of the world was standardizing on relatively mild pistol cartridges for their submachine guns, like the 9x19mm Parabellum or the .45 ACP, the Hungarians took a different path. They chose the 9x25mm Mauser export. This wasn't just a cartridge. This was a fire-breathing dragon in a small package. Let me give you some numbers, and remember, I'm writing them out as words as you asked. The standard 9x19mm Parabellum cartridge, muzzle energy of around 500 joules. The American .45 ACP cartridge, muzzle energy also around 500 joules. The Hungarian 9x25mm Mauser cartridge, muzzle energy 714 joules. Do you feel that difference? It's 40% more powerful. Its bullet, weighing 8.3 grams, was launched from the barrel at a blistering 415 meters per second. This was a round that could punch through light body armor and barriers that would easily stop a 9mm Parabellum. But with great power comes great recoil and tremendous stress on the weapon's mechanism. A simple, straight blowback system like the PPSHs would have been battered to pieces by this cartridge. It would have been uncontrollable. But Kiraly's ingenious delayed system was the perfect solution. It was the only way to tame this dragon, to harness its raw power and make it manageable for a soldier. This was the Hungarian calculation. Their submachine gun would not be a mere trench broom. It was intended to be a serious individual weapon for the infantryman, with exceptional penetration and an effective range of up to 600 meters. For a submachine gun of that era, this was borderline science fiction. Danuvia, the arsenal of Hungary. The manufacturer tasked with bringing this vision to life was the company with the poetic name Danuvia. From its founding in 1920, its purpose was clear: to serve the rearmament and national pride of Hungary. The nation was on a mission to rebuild its military might, and Danuvia was to be one of its pillars. And so, in 1939, after all the prototyping and testing, the Kiraly submachine gun was officially adopted. It seemed like the moment of triumph had arrived. But no, here begins the second act of our tragedy, the tragedy of rejection. A catastrophic start and a wartime awakening. You will not believe this. The Hungarian Military High Command, after reviewing this new wonder weapon, issued an initial production order to Danuvia for 600 units. 600. For an army, this is a token gesture, a pittance. Why? Let's analyze the historical context. In 1939, Hungary, though allied with Germany, was not yet engaged in large-scale combat. The generals, many of them veterans of the previous war, were likely skeptical of the submachine gun as a class of weapon. To them, it was a tool for police, gendarmes, or rear echelon troops, not for the frontline infantrymen. The primary weapon was still the rifle. A submachine gun was an expensive toy. Imagine the crushing disappointment for the engineers and managers at Danuvia to set up production lines, source materials, and train workers, all for a laughably small order of 600 guns? It was commercially nonsensical. Is it any surprise that the fulfillment of this order was successfully dragged out all the way until 1943? And what happened in 1943? This is when the Hungarian generals received a brutal but necessary wake-up call. The war they thought would be quick and victorious had become a grueling, bloody stalemate. Hungarian forces were being chewed up on the Eastern Front in the brutal, close-quarters combat of urban warfare and forest fighting. The volume of fire at short range often proved more important than precision shooting at long distance. The Germans were effectively using their MP38 and MP40. Soviet soldiers were unleashing hails of fire from their PPSH and PPS submachine guns. Suddenly, the Hungarians remembered Kiraly's forgotten weapon. Wait, where are those submachine guns of ours? A new, substantial order was placed, one that finally made sense for the manufacturers. Historians estimate that approximately 11,000 units of the Model 39 were produced, and around 5,000 of the modernized Model 39/43. These numbers are still small by the standards of the World War, but they represented a real fighting force. Evolution, from long rifle to compact powerhouse. As the war progressed, the weapon evolved. The original Model 39 was, let's be frank, a giant. Its overall length was 1,046 millimeters, with a barrel 500 millimeters long. It was almost a carbine. It weighed 3.7 kilograms unloaded. With a full 40-round magazine, it was 4.4 kilograms. A substantial piece of kit. It was packed with clever features beyond its revolutionary bolt. The folding magazine. Press a lever near the trigger guard, and the magazine would pivot forward, lying parallel to the barrel. A special cover snapped shut over the magazine, well to keep out dirt. An elegant solution for carry. 2 fire modes, semi-automatic and fully automatic. The fire selector was combined with the safety and located at the rear of the receiver. Easy disassembly. Press a lever, unscrew the end cap, and the gun came apart for cleaning. A bayonet lug. Yes, this submachine gun was designed to mount a bayonet. What better proof that it was intended as a primary infantry weapon? But combat experience revealed that this length was excessive. Paratroopers, tank crews, and soldiers in cramped vehicles needed something more compact. Thus, in 1943, the modernized version was born, the Model 39/43. It was shortened. Overall length 956 millimeters, with a 424 millimeter barrel. It shed a little weight. But the most important change was the new folding stock. And not just any stock, but a skeletal, tubular stock strikingly similar to that of the German MP40. War has a way of forcing standardization and practicality. The fall and the legacy, bombs, exile, and an immortal idea. The production of the Kiraly met an abrupt and dramatic end. In 1944, Allied air forces began their devastating bombing campaigns against Budapest. The Danuvia factories were among the targets. The production lines had to be dismantled and evacuated to safer locations. But it was too late. The advancing Red Army captured these scattered facilities. The machinery, and likely thousands of finished Kiralys, were packed up and shipped to the USSR as war reparations and trophies. What of Pál Király himself? After the war, like many talented engineers with the wrong past, he had no future in a new, communist Hungary. He emigrated to the Dominican Republic. Yes, you read that correctly. The dictator of that nation, Rafael Trujillo, actively recruited European weapons designers to build up his own defense industry. And Kiraly did not sit idle. He continued his work. One of his creations, there was the San Cristobal carbine, which utilized a version of his trusted delayed blowback system. And what of the system itself? This is where the story of the Kiraly transforms from tragedy into triumph. While the submachine gun itself did not achieve mass fame, its idea proved to be immortal. The Kiraly delayed blowback system found new life in some of the most famous weapons of the later 20th century. The French AA-52 machine gun, the general-purpose machine gun of the French army for decades. Its reliable operation was based on the Kiraly system. The legendary French FAMAS assault rifle, the iconic bullpup with its distinctive carrying handles. Its unique lever-delayed blowback operation is a direct, albeit refined, descendant of the Hungarian genius's work. Soviet experiments in the USSR captured Kiralys, and their documentation were studied meticulously. Soviet engineers like Korobov and Beryshev used modified Kiraly systems in their experimental assault rifles, attempting to find an alternative to the Kalashnikov design. Think about that for a moment. A design born in pre-war Hungary ended up serving in the French army and inspiring Soviet weapons designers. Is that not the ultimate form of recognition? My final analysis and opinion. So, why is the Kiraly not a household name like the MP40 or the PPSH? In my view, a perfect storm of fatal factors converged. First, the historical fate of Hungary, a satellite nation on the losing side of the war. The victors write history, and their weapons become iconic. The weapons of the defeated often fade into obscurity. Second, the Achilles heel of its cartridge. The 9x25mm Mauser was both the Kiraly's greatest strength and its greatest weakness. On one hand, phenomenal ballistics and penetration. On the other, more complex manufacturing, significant recoil, even if mitigated, and a logistical nightmare. It wasn't a standard German round, creating supply chain issues. A weapon must fit into a larger system, and the Kiraly was a square peg. Third, complexity and cost. Manufacturing, it was undoubtedly more expensive than stamping out a PPSH. In a total war of attrition, the choice often falls not on the best weapon, but on the good enough weapon that can be produced in the millions. Yet its genius is undeniable. The Kiraly was a weapon for a connoisseur, an engineer's gun. It wasn't a simple pipe with a bolt. It was a finely tuned mechanical watch. It was arguably the most technologically advanced submachine gun of its era. It was a victim of circumstances, but its spirit lives on in dozens of other, more famous weapons across the globe. And there you have it, the story of a genius ahead of his time, of a monster cartridge, of a small nation striving for martial greatness, and of an idea that, in the end, proved more powerful than the circumstances that sought to bury it. This was more than just a story. This was our shared expedition into the past. If you found this as fascinating as I did, if you want this channel to continue digging up these forgotten histories, you have to let me know. Your feedback is the fuel for our future investigations. It is absolutely vital that you write in the comments below. What do you think? Would the Kiraly have become a world-famous legend if Hungary had been on the winning side? What other forgotten weapon of war do you want us to uncover next? Don't forget to smash that like button, subscribe to the channel, and hit the bell so you don't miss our next historical detective story. Together, we will rescue the names and inventions that deserve to be remembered. Thank you for staying until the very end. Until next time.